When it feels like social media is changing overnight and keeping up has become confusing, overwhelming, and frankly, too time consuming, how do you still use it to build and grow your bridal business without sacrificing your sanity, your confidence, or your passion for the wedding industry? Where's the line between marketing to brides and becoming just another beauty influencer? Hey, and welcome back to the Swears and Does Hair podcast. I am your host, Sue Minsky, bridal hairstylist, makeup artist turned business coach for the beauty and bridal industry. And today I want to be talking about the social media mindsets that I am taking into 2025 with me. Every year, social media changes, not because we have algorithm changes, although, yes, that does affect it to a certain degree, but mostly because how we use the app as a consumer, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media app pops up, how we use it as consumers shifts and changes based on a variety of different things, how things are being talked about, the news that is out there, things that are going on in the world. Is social media a way for us to connect with people? Is it a way for us to find out about news happening in the world? Is it a place to escape? Is it a place to educate ourselves? Is it a place to find information in order to prepare for things? So, how we all use social media is going to be influenced by what's going on in the world. How we receive information from those apps is going to be influenced by things like algorithms. But what it really comes down to is us as consumers. And over time, our habits are just going to shift. So if we're not keeping up with these as business owners and always just trying to do the same thing, when it stops working for us, we can get really frustrated, and it can feel overwhelming to constantly have to keep up with what's working now and what's not and how things are changing. But unfortunately, that is part of being a business owner. Same thing goes for hairstyles and makeup styles. Those are constantly shifting and evolving as a new influencer hits the market and comes out with a trendy new name for a particular style. And suddenly that's what everybody is looking for. That's what everybody wants. Or a celebrity who gets married and now everybody wants their wedding look. It's a lot to keep up with, but it's part of the job. We can stay the same and always just keep doing what we've been doing and hope that continues to work for us. Or we can keep an eye on what's going on in the world, what's going on in social media, and shift our strategies in order to still stay relevant. Social media can absolutely shift the entire course of your career. It can open doors you may not have had access to previously. I will never diminish its power to transform your business for the better, but it's not luck. Okay, its impact is directly related to who you're looking to attract. What opportunities do you want? Do you want to attract the trendy bride who wants the look of whatever celebrity or influencer is popular and hot right now? Or is your target market that timeless bride who's always going to want a soft, clean, classic look? Not something that is very obvious with something like brow trends. Okay. Brow trends tend to be one of the strongest indicators of what generation or what decade a look came from. If you've ever heard the term 2016 brows, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Blush placement is another one of those things that can really date a look by what's trendy. So if you're looking for brides who do not want those things. They want to have a classic look that's going to look timeless, that looks like it could have happened in any decade, that they could be part of any generation, and it's going to just enhance their individual features. It might not be such a big thing to hop on the trends. Okay, so if that's not what you're trying to attract in your business, social media and the influencer crowd is going to have less of an impact on your business. If you are looking for the bride who is looking for the hottest trends and whatever the newest thing is, your job's going to be cut out for you because you're really going to have to keep on top of that. You are going to have to always keep your pulse on what's the next big thing that's coming around and how can you have that represented in your social media to attract the bride that's looking for it. You also have to keep in mind what type of language that you are using to attract these people. Okay, you can't just hope and pray that the right person magically finds you or keep spinning your wheels trying every Instagram hack, trend, audio, or formula sold to you by somebody who swears they've quote unquote cracked the code. Okay, if you want your content to find the right people, and open the right opportunities for you, you need to tailor it to that person you're trying to speak to and the opportunity you're trying to draw into your life. So, this kind of takes me into the very first social media mindset that I'm taking with me into 2025, and also that I want you to consider taking into 2025 with you as well. And that is making sure that my content, your content, the content that we all create is really super specific and tailored to the person that we are trying to speak to. Who do I want to reach with my content? Am I trying to reach the brides that are out there? Excuse me. Am I trying to reach the artists out there who are doing these trending looks? Or am I trying to attract artists who are more of the type of look that I do, that I'm going to relate to in my attitudes towards social media and marketing and working with brides? Is their clientele similar enough to my clientele that we have enough in common where I can say things and they're like, yes, that resonates with me. That speaks to me. I struggle with the same things. I relate to that. I have those same issues in my business. How can we work together to overcome these things? Or am I just going to try and get popular online and attract as many bridal artists as possible and hope that somebody wants to hire me to be their coach just because I have thousands and thousands of followers? No, I'm going to be making sure that all of my content is speaking to the artist who works with the same type of brides that I always worked with, because things are going to align more. Our strategies are going to align more on how to approach marketing, how to approach communication. The types of brides that they work with and the ones that I worked with are going to have certain mindsets about things. And I'm going to be able to have a deeper understanding of what attracts that type of bride in order to market to them. And I'm going to be able to give them more specific insight. And so when you are doing the same thing, obviously you're not attracting other artists, you're attracting brides. I want you to think about the same type of thing. What type of struggles and issues do the brides that you work with encounter frequently? What insights do you have specifically as an artist that you can help them overcome? What is your level of expertise? Are you somebody who communicates really thoroughly and frequently? Then you're probably really good at working with the brides who need a higher amount of touch points, people who keep in constant communication. So if you're afraid of being like, oh my God, I send too many emails, or I post too much, or I do this too much, you're going to be pushing away the type of brides who don't want that. But naturally, you're going to start to call in the brides who do. And that's going to be the type of client that's in alignment with how you run your business. So when you're putting out things on social media, keep that in mind. Who do you want to attract into your inbox, and who don't you want in your inbox? It is not about quantity. And I see so many coaches focus on this. And I'll be honest, it really pisses me off because they just focus on being really busy and having a really full inbox and all of these inquiries coming into you. And that's not necessarily the best way to run a business. That's a lot of work on your end, sifting through the people who might not be a good fit. Instead of always keeping in mind, who do I want to attract into my inbox? How am I supporting their journey before they make it to the inquiry stage to help assuage their fears about why I might not be a good fit? What can I show about my expertise on working specifically with them so that they feel attracted to me, to my style, and how I run my business? Make sure that you are tailoring your message and you're tailoring your social media to the right type of people. Instead of casting a wide net, cast a more narrow one, because those are the type of people who are going to go through your booking process so much more smoothly and so much more easily, because everything already feels in alignment. You have literally set up this stepping stone path for them to reach to you and get to the other side where you have a signed contract, where you have that booking deposit, and you have this dream bride who is going to make everything so much easier and smoother for both of your sakes. Take a look at your messaging, take a look at who you're trying to attract and how you're approaching your social media. Are you focusing on vanity metrics? Are you focusing on things like engagement and how many likes? What are you trying to actually accomplish? Are you trying to achieve online popularity? Are you trying to get noticed by big brands so that you can build brand ambassadorships? They focus on things like quantity over quality. Or are you trying to book brides? Because there's a big difference on how you approach social media if you want to be an influencer versus you want to be a business that books clients. Social media influencers, yeah, the life looks really great. It feels, oh, it's just passive income. I don't really have to do much, but there's a lot of work to it. Is that the workload that you want to add to yourself? Or do you just want more dream brides in your inbox? So figure those things out and then tailor all of the content that you put out towards the goals that you want. Cast a narrow net instead of a wide net. You will catch better opportunities that way. Now, the next social media mindset that I'm taking into 2025 with me is the craving authenticity by people these days. Okay. People want to see more of the other people that they are interacting with. They're not necessarily craving perfection. Back when Instagram started, it was a photo sharing app. Everything was super curated. You got photos from professional photographers, you posted those up, and everything had this really beautiful, cohesive look. And then we moved into the curated grid. How did our photos on there create a pattern? Did we take one large photo, break it up, post a bunch in one day, and it all makes a complete picture? That's not the way things are these days. Yes, we're in a visual field and people want to see that we are creating beautiful hair and beautiful makeup and that the people in the portfolio look like them, feel like them, they can see themselves in that chair. Okay, so that hasn't changed, but there's more to it. They don't just want to see the pretty polished photos at the end. People are waking up to all of the tricks that have been used for social media to dupe the consumer over the years. If you took a look at what happened on TikTok right before the ban, all these TikTok influencers were coming out and confessing about how they had been lying to people for all these years. Influencers talking about, here's what I look like with a filter, here's what I look like without a filter, and just how much manipulation there is out there. We see it because we are beauty artists and we know what's real and what's probably been manipulated. The average consumer cannot tell the difference. How many times have you sat down at a wedding in the last year or so and somebody showed you a photo and you had to explain to them that that's not a real human being, that was AI? If you're a hairstylist, how many times have you had to explain to somebody that's not real hair, that's a wig? That's not a real hair. That's with extensions. That's with filler. All these little things that we can do to get them the look that they want, but they don't see what kind of goes into it. And consumers are waking up to that and they are craving more authenticity. They want to see not just the polished photo at the end, but what goes into it. They want to see more of the process, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. They want to know that they can trust the end result that you're presenting, that you are not just posting all of these photos that may be manipulated into making them look or feel like they're going to look like those photos when in reality they're not. So they don't want to see misrepresentation of our artistic skills. We want to make sure that we are polishing up our photos, but not to the point where we're manipulating and making it unrealistic. Yes, we want to shift the color tone on things because we're not taking professional photos with cameras and things like that. We're most likely taking it on our cell phone. iPhones always have, differences in colors versus Android phones. Android phones tend to be a little bit truer to color. Not everybody understands how to adjust lighting, all those kinds of things. So yeah, we want to make minor manipulations so that the photo represents how the person looked in real life to the naked eye in a way that is pleasing. But we don't want to misrepresent ourselves. And brides are like, okay, I want to know that if I hire you, particularly if you're an artist who does not require a trial beforehand, okay, or does not offer a trial beforehand. A lot of brides have become distrustful over the last few years because they're like, why am I going to pay you hundreds or thousands of dollars and trust that the end result that I get is realistically and authentically represented on your social media? How do I know that I'm going to look like those people and that you haven't manipulated things? So people are craving that authenticity of the aesthetic, but they're also craving authenticity with the brands that they're giving hundreds or thousands of dollars to. They want to see the behind the scene process to also see, how do you work? How do you interact with people? How do you speak to people? How do you show up on the day of? Are you there on time? What is your attitude? What is the conversations that you have with people? If you've taken a look on social media lately, it's really popular for videos without trending audio. It's just the artist having a conversation with the client in their chair, the consultation. People really love this because they're craving that authenticity piece to social media. They don't want to feel like they're being sold to. They want to feel like they're being heard, understood, spoken to in a way that is mindful, in a way that is respectful. They want to know that when they have that conversation and they sit down in the chair, you're not going to be the type of artist who's, I'm going to do what I want or what I think is the right thing to do because I'm the artist and I know everything. So I'm just going to do what I want anyways. That is a huge fear that people have. And it's across the board. Okay. I've been doing this for 18 years and it is a huge problem that I hear constantly repeated by bridal party members all the time. They're like, yeah, I was a bridesmaid in somebody else's wedding and the makeup artist or the hairstylist didn't listen to me. They did what they wanted to anyways. Even though I asked for this, they argued with me and they told me no, and they did what they wanted to anyways. Or they convinced me to do this and I hated it. Okay. People want to know that they're not going to have that type of experience with you. They want to build that trust factor. So that's why reels like that are doing so well on Instagram and things like that right now, because that's what people are actually looking for. They want to see how you interact and how you listen to people, how you repeat back what they're saying to show, yeah, I'm actually listening to you. And then they want to see the end result. Did you actually listen to that person? I will see reels all the time where the bride is talking about how she doesn't like to wear much makeup and she doesn't want a lot of heavy foundation. And it sounds okay, yes, the artist is listening to them, they're repeating those things back. And then the end result is like this full mask of foundation where it looks like you could stick your fingernail in it and just like scrape and peel it off. And it does not match what they said they wanted. And yeah, the person looks like they're like, oh, yeah, I love it or whatever. But as an artist, I have to look at that and go, did they really listen? Because it looks like they didn't really listen. And as a consumer, I'd be like, she said she doesn't really like much foundation, and look at all of that product that person put on. And it could be a discrepancy on what that artist thinks is natural or a lighter coverage of foundation or whatever, and they're just looking for low contrast. And they're just looking at low contrast. Okay. They're looking at neutral tones and low contrast and being like, yes, this is natural. This is not very heavy, where you can see just how much product is actually piled on. Consumers are looking for those details. So if you're going to be posting these kinds of things, definitely make sure that you're actually posting and talking about how you listened to what that person and what your interpretation and what your representation is. And if somebody says they don't wear much foundation and you're going to put on a ton of foundation anyway, you definitely need to also pay attention to what you're posting in your caption and how you're talking about, this is my approach and this is why I do this the way I did. It may look like a lot of foundation, but here's the reality of it. Yada. In the end, my client was happy. You can see that she was happy in the end. Okay. So, really pay attention to how you're representing the communication process, because people want to feel like, yes, if I sit down in this person's chair and I tell her I don't wear much makeup, I want a natural look, she's not going to slather and pack on all of this foundation and then just go low contrast or neutral tones with the color and think that's what I actually want. Okay. Same thing goes with hair. Your consultations with hair. How are you listening to what the person is asking for? How are you listening to what their concerns are? And how are you talking them through the process? That's going to showcase how do you listen to your clients. And then the last piece of authenticity is they want to know more about you and about the people that they're giving their hard earned money to. The economy is not super great right now. Okay. The cost of, everything is sky high. All right. And people are being more decisive and picky about who they are investing their money with. People are waiting longer before they are choosing vendors for their wedding because they have to save up. They don't have all of this disposable income. And so it's not that necessarily people don't prioritize beauty the way that they have beforehand. It's vendors in all areas. A lot of people have noticed the shift in the last year to 2 years that people aren't booking as far in advance as they had before. And that is because everybody is raising their prices and it costs a lot of money to book. It's a 50% retainer for most businesses, and they're not necessarily sitting around on $15,000 to $20,000 in cash to go ahead and start putting all these retainers out. So they have to save up the money and then move forward with people. So they're being a little bit more picky. They're spending a little bit longer, not only saving up the money, but researching and being like, who do I really want to give my money to? Do I like the vibe of this person? Not just from the consultation, but who they are as a person. Could I see myself enjoying working with them from start to finish? So the social media mindset of show more authenticity, show more of real life, show behind the scenes. What are you doing today? Not just in your business, but what are your hobbies? What are the things that you like? It's something that I've always preached for years and years. about showing the behind the scenes of your daily life. You never know what touch point people are going to connect with you on. It may be the type of music that you watch, it may be the type of games that you play, or the shows that you watch. It shows, oh, we have something in common. We have something that we can talk about. It won't just be super awkward sitting there in the chair with them. So, how can you connect with people? Show who you are behind the scenes. Yes, the little things about doing your business, how you're working on things, and how that helps and benefits them. If you're going to a hair class or a makeup class, or you're going to Sephora or Cosmoprof and shopping for things for your kit, showcase those types of behind the scenes, but don't forget the human aspect of it. We don't want to just be giving our money to brands. We want to be giving money to people, and we want to give our money to people that we like. How do they relate to you? I'm the kind of person who is very picky about who I hire in my business and in my coaching business. There are people out there who will market their business being like, hey, I'm a millionaire, and look at me, I'm flying to here, I'm flying to there, and I'm wearing this suit, and look at my Louboutin shoes, and like blah blah blah, and popping champagne. And I'm like, those people can't fucking relate to me. I do not live that life. I do not live that lifestyle. I want somebody who's more like where I am, but like a little bit further. I want them to not be so far removed from my life and my struggles that they fucking forgot what it was like to be like, how do I do this? What does this struggle really feel like? How do I overcome it? So, people are looking for vendors that they feel like they can relate to on a more personal level. So, keep that in mind. The last little mindset that I am taking with me, and is something that I have seen talked about so much recently, and people were sending me things, and they're like, "How do you feel about this? And is this, your approach too, or whatever?" And I was like, I was supposed to record a podcast about that a few days ago. Unfortunately, we've had the flu in our house, and then snow days and all kinds of stuff, so things got pushed back a little bit. But the one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this week's podcast, which the date is set regardless of when I record it, but it was just a little bit ironic that I was like, oh, I'm already planning on talking about that when I record, and that will be out next week. But it's really about not following people in your niche. Okay. And going outside of your niche for mental health purposes. Because sometimes when we follow so many people in our niche, in the bridal hair or the bridal makeup, or for myself within the coaching industry, and particularly in the bridal coaching industry, which is something that has absolutely exploded in the last 5 years. When I started in 2020, everybody was doing online education for hair. Okay. Everybody was like, I have got too much free time on my hands. I can't work with people. I need to establish myself as an educator, and I got a doll head right here. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just record myself doing stuff on doll heads. And I was like, that's great. I could do that. Or I could talk about business. I could talk about marketing. I can help with that side of things. How to book more brides, how to set your rates better, how to develop systems, and how to run your admin more efficiently. All these kinds of things. And I was like, I'm going to focus on business. There was like two, maybe three other people who were talking about that at the time. And so many people that I first met in the industry were like, oh my God, thankfully, there's finally somebody talking about the business side of things. It's so underrepresented in the educational community. And now it feels like every time I open up my app, somebody's like, I'm now starting business education. Here's a template that you can buy, and here, book me for a one-on-one coaching call. And everybody has experienced some success in their business since 2020, when we were going through this huge boom in bookings and weddings and stuff like that. And everybody had more business than they could handle. And they're like, this is how I did it. And now I'm going to teach you too. So it's frustrating, to say the least, to see some people who, you know, I may not agree with the way that they approach things, or I may not agree with how they do things. And seeing so many people, and even if they give really good advice, because there are 100% amazing business educators out there that I love and I fully support, but sometimes it can feel a little harsh watching all of these people. It feels people coming out of the woodwork. Great. Now there's another one. And it's hard, whether I agree with them or I disagree with them. It feels, now I have to work so much harder. Now here's another piece of competition. Here's another this, here's another that, or here's more bad advice that I feel like I have to compete against or combat or talk about in some kind of way to be like, I'm debunking this. Okay. So it gets really frustrating and it can start to wear down on my mental health. It's the same thing if you are a hairstylist or a makeup artist and all you're following is hairstylists and makeup artists. And every time you open your app, you're scrolling through and you're like, oh, look at that beautiful work. Look at that hairstyle. Look at that photo. Look at that whatever. It can start to feel like you have this hill, and every time you open up this app, there's a few more rocks piled on top of this hill that you now feel like, I have to climb over. If I want to be at the top, if I want to be at the top of my game and I want to be the best that I can be, and I want whatever your goals for your business are, it feels insurmountable. Okay. And that's where imposter syndrome can really come into play and start to make you feel like I'm not as good as that person. Or it might be where you're like, I don't think that their work is that great, but look at them being super popular. Look at them going viral. And, you know, we can nitpick the little things about their skill that we're like, no, either I don't agree with or I don't think is very good, but look at them having this level of success. And it can feel hard. Okay. It can feel like we're being beaten down and compared and things like that. And you just have to remember the people that they're speaking to are not necessarily the people that you're speaking to. Their style of their art, or for me, their style of their coaching, what they prioritize. The people that they are attracting into the world is not the people that we are trying to attract into our world. It's irrelevant. They have their place in the market. Good, bad, whatever. They have their place in the market and we have ours. And we need to focus on our place in the market and how good we are, how amazing we are, who we help, the lives that we change, the lives that we impact, the people that we make feel beautiful and make feel wonderful about themselves, and how we get them to that point, and constantly looking at other people in our niche. And the comparison can really start to wear down on us. So, for your mental health, I highly recommend not following so many people in the bridal hair or the bridal makeup industry. Okay. Pick 3 to 5 whom you really respect as an artist. The people that you're like, no, I support them. I support their journey. I support their message. I relate to them. Our type of clientele aligns. Our philosophies align. Things feel in alignment. You feel good when you look at their content because you're like, yeah, look at that. That's great. I can do that too. All right. Instead of just following so many people in order to get ideas. Okay. If you're somebody who is struggling to be like, I don't even know what to post online, find a business coach who can help you with that. Take an online course or sign up for a membership that gives you ideas for your niche. There are some really great social media coaches out there who can help you with the ideas kinds of things, whether it's somebody like myself who is in the bridal hair and makeup industry, or somebody like Shannon McKinstry. If you don't know who she is, go ahead and look her up on social media. I'll put a link in the description for today's episode. She has this monthly membership called the Reels Club. And every week, I think she gives 2 or 3 or something like that, specific reels for your niche. All right. Where here's how to talk about whatever. She helps you with creating a caption idea so that you are not relying on trying to copy somebody else, and you're not constantly being mentally bombarded with either competition or messages that frustrate you or that you don't agree with. Those types of things. You can find there's a bunch of different people. I even have like my 365 ideas for bridal artists. It's different posts and different things that you can put into your social media. It's this little Trello board. You can scroll through by topic and be like, I'm looking for makeup ideas. You go to that and you scroll down, and there's a bunch of different ideas. There's calls to action, there's hooks, there's just different little prompts and stuff like that to help springboard your specific creativity. And it's really about taking an idea and then tailoring it to your dream bride. Like I was talking about earlier, you want to talk to your specific dream bride and what concerns she is going to have, what questions she is going to have. How do you quietly and subconsciously walk her through that booking process before she ever even gets to your inbox? You're not going to rely on what's the perfect inquiry response, or what's the perfect PDF that I send to her, or what do I put on my website to convince them of my value and that I'm worth it. Your content is slowly answering these questions that they didn't even realize that they had, and they're like, this is the person for me. She checks all of these boxes. Then they inquire with you. If you're available, things move along so much easier. There is content out there that you can do to create those type of things. You don't have to jump on every trend, okay? It's good to take an eye on, hey, what's working? But if you do that through the process of, hey, let somebody else analyze what is working in general, what is working overall, how is consumer behavior on this particular app shifted, and what should my focus be? Like authenticity, why the videos of sitting in the chair and communicating with the bride are doing so right now, rather than just being like, everybody's doing these, I need to do these too. We don't want to copy just for the sake of copying, because we don't understand the process behind it. We don't understand the strategy. We're just trying to copy to keep up with everybody. And that's when things get really frustrating. And if we're seeing and we're following all of these people that don't necessarily make us feel good about ourselves, then we're just always chasing somebody else's success, and we're not actually calling in success to ourselves. So stop following so many people in your niche. Pick, like I said, 3 to 5. All right. That's all you need for inspiration. And you can analyze, hey, they posted this and it seemed to work really well for them. They got a lot of views. They got a lot of comments or engagement, things like that. They got a lot of likes. That's going to give you a surface view of what that's doing for them on that specific app. It is not going to tell you how that translated into success for them in their business. So you have to remember to also keep that in mind. And I think that's a big piece of why following other people is not good for our mental health, because we might see, oh, they're getting so many likes, or they're getting so many comments, or so many views on these reels or on these posts. That must mean that it's doing really well for them. I have a bunch of reels that have thousands of views, all these likes, 20, 30 something comments. That's not necessarily translating into more followers or more clicks on my link in bio and more sales. Yes, it has helped, but just because I have 30 comments on a reel doesn't necessarily mean that reel moved the needle forward in my business. It just happened to stir up a lot of engagement. It has, provoked a lot of conversation around a particular topic. I've been posting a lot of different types of things lately to gather interest. It's been more information collecting for my education. Okay. How are people feeling about different topics? How can I take my unique perspective and my experience on that particular thing that I'm researching responses to and create something new about it? Okay. So if somebody was just looking, they might be like, oh, she got 30 comments on that. That must have been so good. And they want to copy it and do the same thing too. But they're not going to get necessarily the same response, or it might not do what they want them or want that reel or that post or whatever to do for their business. That might not spur a sudden flurry of inquiries. Okay. It just might stir up a bunch of conversation. All right. So, really pay attention to those types of things. And that's why copying, again, is just really not telling you what you need. Okay. It's not giving you true insights into somebody else's business. On the surface, they might look super successful, and behind the scenes, they're actually not doing so good. And guess what? People can also fucking lie. People can also fucking lie. There are coaches who will tell you to go out there and talk about how busy you are and how booked in advance you are and blah, 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 and artificial scarcity. You might actually have a wide open calendar, but you're talking about how, oh, these 2025 brides, they are on it. Or 2026, they are on it. I have all of these inquiries, but hey, I only booked one. Manufactured scarcity is just a bullshit tactic, and other people teach it, and I don't support it. So it might look like you are following and being inspired by somebody who's making it look like they are killing it, and they're struggling with the exact same things that you are. They're just not speaking about it. So be really careful on where you find your inspiration, who you follow, who you want to mimic. Don't go out there and copy. That's it for this week. All right. The mindsets that I'm taking into 2025, that I think you should be taking into 2025 as well. Really pay attention to who you're speaking to and how you're speaking to them, so that you're attracting the right people into your world and into your inbox, and you're repelling the type of people that you don't actually want to work with. Take a look at your message. Don't copy other people. You can analyze their process. You can work with coaches that are more broad, but make sure that you are really just dialing everything into and putting it through the filter of your dream bride first. How can you take this inspiration? How can you take this prompt and filter it through? What does my dream bride actually want to see? What is working in the industry right now? What do people want from whatever XYZ social media app you're focusing on at that point, whether it's Instagram or whether it's TikTok or whether it's Threads or whatever. Each one has its own personality. Why do people use that particular app? What opportunities are you trying to call in? And then really just focusing on authenticity and being true to yourself, connecting with people so that you build that trust, you build that rapport. They can see themselves working with you. They trust that they're going to get the same results that you're representing online. They like you for you, and then just not getting yourself really overwhelmed with what everybody else is doing, not copying people, not following people that make you feel bad about yourself or about your artistry, that make you feel like, oh my God, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough because I'm not making XYZ dollars, or I'm not making enough destination weddings, or I'm not doing enough of these trendy updos, or I'm not whatever. Substitute whatever triggers you. Okay, and then unfollow those people. You will feel so much better about yourself. You'll feel so much better about your business, and it will allow you to narrow your focus back on your dream client. What does your dream client need from you? And how is the most authentic way for you to represent that? That's where you're going to start to see success. That is what's going to make the difference for you. It is not going to be vanity metrics. You're actually going to see it translate into success for your business and more bookings. Okay, so thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I will see you back next week.